In our first news, scores of clients of microfinance schemes in the Volta regional capital, well, they are threatening to boycott the 2016 general elections if government fails to help them retrieve monies they have invested in these companies.
And these customers, mostly residents of Ho, hits the streets on Thursday to protest their inability to access their investments. Here's a report by Fred Kwame-Asari.
In red and holding placards, claim some of them invested about 380 Ghana cedis and 450 Ghana cedis and were promised return of 6,000 Ghana cedis and 5,000 Ghana cedis after 5 months. They cited 10 microfinance schemes who have failed to deliver on their promises to them. They include Little Drop Investment Club, Prosperity and Good Health, Develop Winners, Royal Foundation, Global Lead, Royal Care, Jodec, Clear Image Investment and Divine Rain, among others. Over 40,000 clients are said to have invested huge sums of money with these companies in the Volta region and were expecting their capital with a premium, but this never materialized. According to the clients, some investors have received their promised returns, while several others have their investment locked with the groups. However, the offices of these network companies have been closed after the Bank of Ghana issued a statement declaring the operations of such groups illegal. Some of the customers who defied the reins to demonstrate told JoyNews they have become impoverished due to the delay of payment of their monies.
Little drops.
It was about a year and a half ago when these network groups came to Ho, promising to give us 6,000 Ghana cedis after 5 months when we invest 380 Ghana cedis. The early investors had their returns, but till date payment has stalled. The operators of these network groups have run away with our monies. Now we are suffering to pay back our loans and feed our families. We are pleading with the government to help retrieve our monies for us.
Prosperity.
After getting a huge crowd of people with their documents and the money, they refuse paying them. For about some months and years now, we've not heard of them again. So we are appealing to all the organizations concerned for their presence in this country to get them for us, so that we can retrieve our money. Without that, something else will happen, and we are not even ready to vote if they cannot see for our welfare.
Maxwell Donku, who led the demonstrators, said their findings have revealed that these microfinance companies were duly registered with government. He therefore appealed to government to step in to help retrieve their monies, or else they would boycott the upcoming general elections. Fred Kwame-Asari's report for JoyNews.
But our slogan is that no money, no vote. Yes. Simply because they claim Volta region is the World Bank. Now we want to prove to the government that we are also wise. They have taken money from us to pay other groups in Brother Hafo, in Kwanzaa, and those areas without refunding our money. So we are pleading government to come to our aid to help us get our money.
You know, the whole sector customs division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has destroyed over 1,500 slabs of Indian hemp intercepted between March 2015 and May this year.
Some other contraband destroyed included assorted pharmaceutical products, aphrodisiacs, cigarettes, and some expired food products. Fred Kwame-Asari again.
Briefing the media, Assistant Commissioner in charge of Whole Sector Customs Division, Frank Kujo-Ashon, expressed worry at the increasing number of cases involving the transiting of Indian hemp through the Volta region. He says about 500 slabs of the narcotics have already been intercepted between January and May 2016, with a large chunk intercepted at the Asikuma Customs Barrier, the last customs checkpoint. He also counseled investors interested in important pharmaceutical products to do so through the approved routes.
The bulk of the items we are destroying this morning is made up of aphrodisiacs, compressed Indian and expired food items. These items were intercepted by customs officers. between March 2013 to May 2016. Most of these items came through unapproved routes and they were intercepted at various checkpoints. Importation of pharmaceuticals through the frontiers is banned. Pharmaceuticals can only be imported through the seaports and the airports. So those goods that came through the frontiers are supposed to be intercepted and seized. As we all know, ignorance of law is no excuse. Now, some of the farmers too who are turning their farmers into the cultivation of Indian hemp, they should desist. We are only entreating the public to give us information. But most of the interception that our men do on the road, it is through the informants. When you give us information, we will act upon it and your identity will be concealed.
Authorities from the Ghana National Fire Service, Food and Drugs Authority, the police and the Environmental Protection Agency were all present to witness the destruction of the contraband. Fred Kwame Sarah's report for JoyNews.
The Electoral Commission is promising that the number of reforms it is implementing in this year's election would lead to a much better electoral output.
Addressing journalists at an election training workshop here in Accra, its chairperson, Charlotte Osei, said the commission would prevail despite what she described as attempts by the media to run it down, warning that destroying the credibility of the Electoral Commission could spell doom for the country. Here's Derek Ekolsam, who sat through the training and also filed this report.
EC chairperson stated that the 27 reforms being implemented include the declaration of results at the polling station and the demystification of the so-called strong room where results are supposedly collated at the national level. The results, she says, will be certified in the full glare of the public.
Strong room has been replaced with a more transparent and open National Results Collation Center, fully equipped with TV cameras for live coverage. And we've also agreed and put it in the law that results will be announced and published on a polling station basis. There'll be projector screens at the collation centers, the constituency collation centers, so that the results are projected and everyone can see. So it's a more transparent process.
Mrs. Osei also says that no verification, no vote policy is not being abandoned as reported by a section of the media.
We have made provision for manual verification. Does not mean we are abolishing biometric verification. But because we are working with equipment, and equipment can only work to maximum 99% standard, it is just part of the rules of electoral justice that you make provision for the 1% who may be falsely rejected by the biometric machines on election day.
The EC chairperson was unhappy about the media's reportage on the commission's activities, suggesting the fraternity was allowing politicians to abuse it.
The media is providing platforms for the political parties to needlessly and repeatedly attack the referee. And we urge them on in doing so. And we aid them with a line of questioning, seeking to achieve a predetermined end. And we are quick to publish very quickly unverified and unsubstantiated claims against the commission, without any real efforts at doing independent research and fact-checking.
Also at the workshop was security analyst Dr. Kwesi Enin, the Director of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, who urged journalists to adopt reporting methods that will ensure that stories churned out do not put the country at risk.
As you report your stories, it's extremely important that in putting or using the word security, or reporting in particular forms, that the way in which that reportage is done can contribute to posing threats and undermining societal resilience.
For him, a society driven by envy cannot progress. Director of Operations at the Ghana Police Service, Chief Superintendent Dr. Benjamin Agozo, also cautioned journalists to eschew sensationalism in the discharge of their duties. Derek Ekolsam, JoyNews, Accra.
Well, there's more criticism, but this time against the Electoral Commission.
Well, pro-NPP pressure group Let My Vote Count Alliance addressed the press conference on Thursday, criticizing the Electoral Commission for deleting only 56,000 NHIS registrants from the voters' register. Convener of the group, David Asante Boateng, said the EC's posture shows it is biased towards the governing NDC. Raymond Aqua has more.
The pressure group Let My Vote Count Alliance dismissed the Electoral Commission's recent announcement that names of about 56,000 National Health Insurance ID card registrants have been expunged from the electoral roll. According to the group, it has proof that the list of names the Commission has said registered with the National Health Insurance cards are significantly lesser than what the true figure reflects. Speaking at a press conference Thursday, convener of the group, David Asante, said the EC has on countless occasions acted in ways to show it is biased and that it cannot be trusted to deliver a free, fair and transparent election.
The Electoral Commission submitted a list that it claimed contained 56,772 people, constituting the full list of those who used NHIS cards to register in the 2012 registration. This represents 0.40% of that 14,031,793 who registered in the 2012 elections. This also means that the average, only 2 registered voters per each of the 26,002 polling stations nationwide did so with their NHIS card, if you believe the Electoral Commission at all. So where does that leave us, ladies and gentlemen? The Electoral Commission claims it has deleted the names of persons on the list it presented in court from the register, and that those people may register again during the exhibition of voters' register, which begins next week. Our view is that, per their dogged resistance to giving Ghanaians a clean and credible register, the Charlotte Osei-led Electoral Commission has done more than enough to let Ghanaians know that it cannot be trusted to deliver a free, fair, and transparent election.
The group claims it has collated over 1,000 more names beyond the 56,000 the EC says registered with the National Health Insurance cards. But when pushed to provide evidence of its claim, it refused to do so. Convener David Asante said the group will not submit its list of voters who registered with the National Health Insurance cards to the Electoral Commission.
We in Let My Vote Count Alliance are not interested in helping the Electoral Commission identify the other members or the other Ghanaians who registered with an NHIS card. I'm sure most of you may be aware by now we opened our system to welcome names. We have thousands of Ghanaians who have given their names to us as having registered with National Health Insurance cards. We are not interested in submitting those names to the Electoral Commission. They are the constitutionally mandated body. If they can look into the eyes of the whole of Ghana and tell us 56,000 names registered, and they've gone ahead to clean those names, that is their business. We want to concentrate on making sure we have a credible elections. We will not waste time going to compete with the EC as to who did and who did not.
In other news, Parliament is divided over provisions in the newly introduced Petroleum Exploration and Production Bill, which allows the sector minister to determine through direct negotiation oil block deals for the country.
Under the bill, the minister is granted such powers, but with a caveat to publish his decisions in the national dailies. The minority says the provision would defeat the call for transparency and fairness in the oil sector if it is not amended and the powers rather given to the tender committee. Parliament on Thursday started the process of fashioning out the E&P bill, which consists of the laws to govern the oil sector. Member of the Mines and Energy Committee, Isaac Isiama, tells our parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe the provision is likely to be abused if it is not removed.
We need to ensure that there is transparency and accountability in the oil industry, and that is what industry players have called for, that we need to make sure that our laws are in tune with modern practices in the industry. Our laws are modernized to meet standards in the industry. So if you now want to ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the process, and then you introduce another clause to kill that transparency and accountability, you haven't done anything. What you have done in effect is that this thing should be thrown out. Because the essence of this whole thing is to make sure that we have a transparent and accountable legal regime, a regime that will ensure that there is fairness in the industry. So if this regime that we are going to pass, this new law we are going to pass into an act, also becomes like the old one, then what have we achieved? Then we've wasted the poor taxpayers' money. All the workshops that we have had, all the witnesses that we have brought, everything we have done would have been a wastage of time. And that, for me, is my concern, that we need to ensure that we are clear, we are sincere, and that we want to go according to modern industrial practices.
Okay, but the committee report talks about the fact that the minister can determine that direct negotiation would ensure the most efficient and optimal exploitation of petroleum in a particular area. By in doing so, he must publish it in the national dailies. Is this not, doesn't this amount to being transparent in the dealing in this area?
That will be given to only one person, the minister, to look at the financial capability, technical capability of a company. I mean, it's not possible. To look at the cash flow of a company, it's not possible. The minister cannot do that. So it is clear that is why we have the procurement law. Opening it up, there should be a clean process. The process should be open, fair to everybody, so that Ghanaian companies can bid for it. That is our concern. Our concern is that we are now going to ensure that we have a law that is modernized, a law that ensures that there's transparency. You see, the oil industry, if you're not careful and you don't promote greater transparency, we have all sorts of corruption.
The Vice Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, Adam Mutawakilu, is, however, defending the provision, saying it will help Ghana enter into better oil exploration and production contracts.
Circumstances where the minister can do direct negotiation. If it is only one person who bidded for it, automatically it becomes direct negotiation. And in that case, the minister will engage, having in mind what the country tend to gain. We must have that in mind. Before any petroleum agreement is entered, the government must know, or the country must know, what we intend to gain from it. Because at the end of the day, whatever that comes to us belongs to us. So it is very, very critical. So the minister may engage in direct negotiation where only one person bid for a tender. So in that case, it becomes a direct negotiation.
But how different is this provision from the previous one which was withdrawn?
Now,
which gave the minister the power to overlook competitive bidding and then settle on one person?
We have to be very careful. That is the first aspect. This aspect provides for competitive bidding under clause 10 subsection 3. And if you will not, it won't take my time, I can just read it. The clause 10 subsection 3 says, a petroleum agreement shall only be entered into after an open, transparent, and competitive public tender process. So they will open the tender. If one person bids, so it becomes direct negotiation. That is one person. If there are more than two, the competitive tender will go through. However, clause 10.4 states, despite subsection 3, the minister may decide not to enter into a petroleum agreement after the tender process as prescribed. We have to be very careful. It doesn't mean that the minister can cancel it and enter into direct negotiation. No.
And that'll be it for the news this morning. But as always, we're here to bring you a lot more. It's a Friday, a Freaky Friday, but we also want to make sure that you have your health status right. And so that's why we bring you all the moves on the segment Body and Soul. And we have a man in the studio to help us know which of the steps we need to take to make sure we lose the right proportions of weight.
Okay, so that's where there's a trick. Now check this out. So much is said about losing weight that it can be hard to sort the fact from fiction. In fact, there are many unhealthy misconceptions about weight loss. Did you know, however, that here there are no magical foods or ways to combine foods, that can melt away fat? You can't just shrink in a minute. To reduce your weight, you need to make small, achievable changes to your lifestyle, and that is where our health and fitness man comes in. Today, he's doing something a little different on Body and Soul. And this is what we want you to do. Share with us some of the crazy things that people have told you could do to lose weight. Like, I've heard there's some tea around. If you've tried it and it has worked, yeah, I want to know. I want to shrink a little, so
we'll see how that goes. But we're here to talk on a lot more subjects as well.
Exactly. We've got some electoral conversations to have here on the show. The Electoral Commission has published the full list of National Health Insurance Scheme card registrants that have been expunged from the electoral roll. The list is available on myjoyonline.com. Check it out. Tell me if your name is included. But we're also asking the question, if your name is on that list, what do you do next here on our show?
I think I can find a name that looks like mine.
We'll look for Roland Walk on the list later on.
Right.
Yeah. But still staying, Roland, with electoral matters, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, is not happy with the media. She says there has been no publication in the media seriously examining the more than 20 reforms which the Electoral Commission is implementing in this year's election cycle. Yeah.
And so during that very workshop that she had, in which there was also some level of orientation for personnel of the media who were invited, she singled out a number of reportage, or perhaps the attitude of the media as being very negative against the posture of the Electoral Commission in itself. But she also said, if we want to have a very good election, fair and credible, we also need to make sure the referee, which is the Electoral Commission, gets a lot more credibility than we're currently giving it. Let's see how that goes.
They're seriously examining the more than 20 reforms which the Electoral Commission is implementing in this year's election cycle, and the implications of those reforms on the electoral process. We have not seen a single report on how the results of the elections can actually be compromised or manipulated from an operational perspective, which would now require that the media will call on the EC to remedy those operational gaps they have identified. Yet every day we are inundated with scurrilous comments in the media on how the EC and the chair of the EC as a person are rigging the elections. And these comments are reported.
And so stay tuned. We're going to bring you a lengthy inset of that very talk to the media by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei.
Well, hits the campaign trail as well. We'll touch base with the political parties campaigning and hear what they have been talking about and, of course, promising. Yeah.
All right.
Roland, I have a very good friend. We go way back. He'll be here on the show today. We're talking modeling in Ghana. You know, when I was very young, I wanted to be a model. I think it's almost like every girl's dream. And
I wanted to be a model as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay. I tried, but my body size just wouldn't.
But you know, when you grow along the line, all those thoughts. But how can you be a model in Ghana? How do you even start? My very good friend Fafa, he's been training a lot of young people, and he'll be here to share a lot more with us here on the show.
But in the meantime, when we do the newspapers, we look at the online portals for Body and Soul. Albert will be joining us as he gives you a lot more of the steps and the changes that you and I need to make to our lives.
Okay, one final thing. On the average, not less than 24 children and the elderly are knocked down weekly on the streets of Accra alone. That's according to the Accra Police Region Command. Sadly, most people knocked down die because drivers involved in such accidents abandon their victims. The police is here with us on the show today.
And we know this is premised on the fact that, well, the resident of Brewa, just close to Cape Coast in the central region, just a day or two ago, demonstrated against the level of speed by most of us motorists who tend to ply that very route, and it's dangerous to children, women, and a lot more of the residents in their community.